Tonight on Reel to Reel, we'll meet the man who protects the souls of those who protect and serve.
And we'll take a look at a program to help the needy families of Mississippi with a personal touch.
Our regulars, Rosemary Bruno and Father Joseph Glass, will join us.
And we'll take a moment to remember the beauty of St. Peter's in Rome. All that and much more tonight. Hello, I'm Father Dave McGowan.
And I'm Isabel Galvry. Welcome to Reel to Reel.
Good evening to all our faithful viewers out there, and thank you for tuning in to yet another edition of Reel to Reel. We have a show tonight that's going to take us from Philadelphia to halfway around the world, and all that in only a half hour. What's on the top of the menu, Belle?
Well, up first tonight, Father, we have the story of a Connecticut-based program to help the needy families of the Mississippi Delta called the Box Project. Normally, when we reach out our hand to help the poor, it can be as impersonal as writing a check and dropping it in the mailbox.
Well, here's the story of a program that not only encourages people to get involved, but to get personal.
Mama, look here what we got at the box today. This is nasty. Look here. Oh, wait. Look at him.
The Box Project is an opportunity for individuals, families, or groups to reach out on a personal, direct basis with a family in need. You become involved personally with the family through letters and sending of material aid, usually used clothing, household goods, food, to a family in need. And they return the letters, they write to you, and you get to know them and share on both sides.
Nancy Norman is Executive Director of the Box Project. And as the name suggests, it involves helper families boxing up supplies for needy families, particularly in the Mississippi Delta area. The organization opted to concentrate their efforts in one geographic area and to limit their support based not on the number of families needing help, but rather on the number willing to help.
The citizens of the state of Mississippi are those in great need. The percentages of poverty in the areas where we work is about 50% of the population. Presently, we have about 200 families waiting that have been visited, had home visits, and are ready for assignment.
The idea was sparked in the early 60s by two women, Virginia Nave and Coretta Scott King.
The civil rights movement was also growing during those years, and there were a lot of people that were interested in helping families that were in distress.
While this membership organization is totally self-sufficient, they are, by their own admission, still a shoestring operation. They prefer to act as a matchmaker of sorts, and then step back and allow the relationship between the two families to develop on its own.
I think one of the most important things that is given through this project is the knowledge on the part of the family receiving that somebody out there knows about them and cares about them, somebody they've never met, they may never meet. And that whole building of self-worth, I'm important to somebody else, I think that's the most important thing given.
The first step in the process is to have a home visit by a representative of the Box Project. Odell Dunhams is one of those field representatives. She personally visits families, like the Johnsons, in their homes to determine what their needs are.
Some of the houses are so bad until they don't want me to come inside. And sometimes when I sit in my car and visit and I look around, the houses are poor, some of them don't have any water, and of many homes they don't have but 3 rooms for a big family. For a big family, it's highest 13, 3 rooms in shotgun houses. Sometimes it's a 2-room house and with another little room on the side.
Bertha Hunt and her mother Lillian Johnson have depended on their helper for the bare essentials.
They be helping my kids, and I know I ain't able to go all the way in the supplies they need to go to school with, because they be need pencils and paper and stuff every day, and I'm not able to give my kids all that. like on the clothes and stuff. They can afford with doctor helping them. Like now, I don't have to wash every day regular like I used to, because we didn't have, many towels, and she sent us a box of towels.
Grace Deedham and her family, who live in Maryland, have been a helper family since 1971.
It's been important to my husband and I that for ourselves as well as our children, that we all be a part of a personal experience of being in touch with other families who, for reasons that I don't understand, may not have been as fortunate as we have been. I have grown to, and my family too, to feel very close to the family that we've gotten to know.
Gloria Albrecht from Maryland and Mary Hayes from rural Mississippi have been together long enough to see each other's families grow and change over the years.
Probably what appealed to me was the sense of having no middle person between us being people who can maybe provide some help and assistance and the person that we would be dealing with, rather than going to any kind of charitable organization where basically you send a check and then you lose control over that and you don't know who it's helping. This is much more direct, and therefore the payback for doing this is more, I think. Probably the main thing that I get out of it is a constantly pricked conscience. It's only through knowing Mary and the other families that I've helped that I really know what poverty is like in the United States, and that it exists, and that there are structural reasons for it, and that it's not that these people are lazy or dumb or not willing to work. Every family that I've ever helped has been a family of great faith. And it's a constant amazement to me to receive letters that talk about how they trust in God, that God is going to come through and answer this problem or that problem, and a constant thankfulness to God for what they have. And I have so much more, and I don't think I have that sense of thankfulness. So their faith is a great example to me. They're very appreciative of anything that is done, and we do very little. That pats me on the back, I guess, which I know I don't deserve, but it feels good to be patted on the back. About once a month, we exchange letters, and I let them know what's going on in my life and my problems, as well as the good things that are happening to me, and they do the same thing. And we rejoice when the news is good, and we lament when the news is bad, and we support each other that way.
I love her. I wouldn't take nothing for her. She have helped me in a lot of places. A lot of times I didn't know where I was going to get a dime from. She'd send me a check or so. She's really nice.
Have you been hearing from your boss?
When Mary's eyesight began to fail last year, it was Gloria who came to her aid.
She sent me money. She bought me some eyeglasses the other week. She sent me money to get me some eyeglasses.
She managed to get her eyes examined and her glasses, and her last letter to me was the thankfulness now for being able to see and not having headaches and not having her eyes feel bad all the time. So that was worth a great deal to me, to hear that news. It's very important to me to get to know people personally, because that helps me to grow, to know that these poor people are not the myth that our society claims that they are. To know Mary as a person is to know her strengths as well as her problems, and to be strengthened by seeing the strengths in her when she has problems that I can't even imagine dealing with, and doing whatever I can. I think it's very important for all of us.
If you are someone who answers the call to reach out to the needy and would like to try the personal touch, contact us here at Reel to Reel, and we'll send you the address of the Box Project.
Grab a paper and pencil, and we'll have our address and phone number at the end of the show. Right now, let's take a short break.
Don't go away. There's more to come.
At the Donahue Funeral Home, we're always gratified to hear from the families we serve. Over the years, many bereaved families have told us how much they appreciated the warm, home-like atmosphere of the Donahue Funeral Home. To make such moments perhaps a little less difficult, the Donahue Funeral Home suggests that you discuss with us now, in the privacy of your home, pre-arrangement and the financial advantages and peace of mind it brings. That's what living is all about.
St. Augustine said it when he said, "He who sings prays twice." So I'm going to ask you to pray twice with me.
Come and join John Michael Talbot in concert at the beautiful Theater in the Round, the Valley Forge Music Fair, Monday, April 14th at 7:30 p.m. Admission is $10 per person. Send check or money order to the Institute for Christian Healing, P.O. Box 95, Department RR, Lima, PA 190370095.
You know, it's so often that you or I are driving down the street and pass a police car or a fire hall and just don't take notice. We don't stop to think that there are men and women out there ready and waiting to help us if and when we need assistance.
They are always on alert for us, but who is standing by when they need help? Well, here's the story of a Philadelphia Monsignor pounding a beat for those who protect and serve. The sight and sound of a police car are well known to residents of Center City, Philadelphia. But the familiarity of this scene changes when the occupants of the car emerge. Officer Bill Daly and Monsignor James Howard. Monsignor Howard is the chaplain of the League of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, an organization for Philadelphia's Catholic police and firemen. Traditionally, the role was defined by the celebration of Mass, giving the invocation at communion breakfast. But Monsignor Howard has redefined this role, taking his ministry into police cars and firehouses, sharing the experiences of the men he serves.
I went out and I saw what men and women can do for the protection. And it's like any kid be curious about what's going on, you know. You hear all these things and you see men that are retired and they come together each month for a meeting and they talk about things. It's not cops and robbers, it's not the adventure of the fire department, but it's the goodness. You know, if you're dealing with them and listening to them, just again, like a kid, you like to become part of them. Well, it's helped me in my priesthood. That's what the priesthood is all about, to give aid to people. And here's a special privilege that I have to give aid to these dedicated people.
Ordained in May of 1952, Monsignor's priesthood has included education and pastoral ministry. At St. Peter and Paul Cathedral Basilica, he has been rector primus for the past 13 years, the same amount of time that he has been chaplain for the League of the Sacred Heart. During that time, he has experienced the changes in the church, as well as changes in the city of Philadelphia. Although ceremonial functions, such as the swearing in of Philadelphia's new police commissioner, Kevin Tucker, are an important part of the job, Monsignor feels that his men and his ministry are best served on those nights when he patrols the streets with Philly's finest.
Believe it or not, a lot of times we've been out on the street when they would stop them right in a patrol car. And I've seen them, young policemen, they go to confession to Monsignor Howard right on the street. One particular incident, we were on a robbery. We were chasing some people around, and I came back, and Monsignor was by the side of the car, and he was listening to a confession.
Well, the greatest need, as far as I'm concerned, overall, is to have support and respect from the people whom they serve. That goes from everybody concerned, from the department itself, everybody concerned with them, that there will be a mutual respect of each other and trust.
I feel that there's many problems that the men and women of this department have that they cannot be settled or controlled by officials within the department. I feel that they look to the clergy for help in this area, and I think with the assistance of people like Monsignor Howard, he has certainly fulfilled this need in our department.
At Engine Company number 43, Monsignor continues his one-on-one ministry, often being there with the men when an alarm is sounded.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, negative.
Monsignor Howard represents a big item to the fire department and the police because he takes such a personal interest in every member and all the members at the same time. And I know it's extremely rewarding for me to work with such a real dedicated and fine gentleman, and he's always available for the fellas. I have never called him that he wouldn't accommodate us with whatever we requested him to do.
The police or firemen are never off duty. They're a special group of people who are dedicated totally 24 hours a day.
Was it 170?
The Delaware Valley is full of rich religious history, and here now is Father Joseph Glass for a brief look at our religious past.
During the 1780s, the participation of laity in the church manifested itself in the trustee system. Trusteeism grew during a time when Catholics were a minority of the population, often without benefit of clergy, and when the American Catholic Church was experiencing a lack of organizational structure and unity. This situation fostered a sense of lay initiative. Laymen formed themselves into Catholic communities, elected their leaders, called trustees, purchased a plot of ground, and built a church. They became the spiritual supervisors of their communities, conducting prayer meetings, Bible readings, and other quasi-liturgical services. When pushed to the extremes, the trustee system came into conflict with the church regarding the appointment, authority, and jurisdiction of pastors and bishops. One of the most notorious of these conflicts occurred in Philadelphia at St. Mary's Church. The so-called Hogan schism pitted the trustees of St. Mary's against the bishop over the right to appoint and dismiss priests. Shortly after becoming Bishop of Philadelphia, Henry Conwell felt obliged to suspend Father William Hogan. Hogan, who had the support of many of the trustees and parishioners, defied the bishop. There then ensued a pamphlet war between the two sides. At the annual trustee election of 1822, there was a fierce contest which resulted in a bloody riot. The whole affair had a damaging effect on the reputation of the Catholic community. Following a strong denunciation from the Pope, Hogan left Philadelphia in 1823. The demise of the trustee system involved the opposition to it by both bishops and clergy, the church becoming more developed institutionally, and clergy becoming more involved in the organization of the local parish. I'm Father Joe Glass with this moment in history.
Thanks for being with us again, Father Glass. We're going to take another short break now.
But don't go away. We'll be right back.
May 2nd, 1986, and you're just beginning the experience of a lifetime on the 1986 Reel-to-Reel Tour of Europe. Join Father Dave McGowan for a 16-day visit to places you've heard about but thought you'd never see. The mystique of Milan, luxurious Lucerne, bustling Munich, exciting Innsbruck, romantic Venice, the culture of Florence, and of course Rome, including a papal audience. All this and much more is part of the all-inclusive package. For a brochure and more information, call 215-565-7070.
What can I tell you? Every Sunday you can become more aware of the world around you.
You'll discover what's new in the Catholic Church.
There's always something new. And Sister Marianne and I would like to share with you the triumph of Catholics in the area. The spirit of Vatican II is alive in you and in me.
Well, look at the Gospels. God's Word has always had the answers for your life's problems.
I'm Father Lee Forbes.
And I'm Sister Marianne Johnston.
Every Sunday on the radio, join us. Up on Air.
You know, Father, it was just about this time last year that we were getting back from our Italy trip.
Yeah, I really loved Rome. I can't wait to go back.
Well, if you can't wait, then coming up next we have just the thing.
It is the largest church in the Christian world, yet it sits in the world's smallest sovereign nation. It is 615 feet long and 435 feet high. It holds 50,000 people. It took 120 years to construct, and some of the greatest artists and architects in history were involved in its design, including Michelangelo, Raphael, and Bernini. The Basilica of St. Peter, located in Vatican City. Construction began on a site believed to be the tomb of Peter the Apostle in 1506 under the papacy of Julius II. After many design changes, the basilica was finally completed in 1615 under Paul V. The completed structure is in the shape of a Latin cross, with the dome at the crossing directly above the high altar and the tomb of St. Peter. It is interesting to note that St. Peter's is not a cathedral, and therefore it is not the Pope's official seat as Bishop of Rome. Basilica is a derivative of the Greek word for king, implying a church built to regal scale. The colonnade surrounding St. Peter's Square, which is really an ellipse, was the greatest architectural achievement of Giovanni Bernini, one of the great masters of 17th century art. It consists of 284 columns, grouped in rows of 4, and was constructed in only 11 years, from 1656 to 1667. Its chief function is to hold crowds that gather for papal benedictions and was a unique solution to the need for a penetrable enclosure. Bernini himself likened the colonnade to the encircling arms of the Mother Church. Atop the balustrade are statues of many martyrs, saints, and confessors. Bernini's other great contribution to the Basilica was the high papal altar. He was commissioned by Pope Urban VIII to build a symbolic structure over the tomb of St. Peter in 1624. When the work was completed in 1633, the result was this immense bronze canopied baldachin with twisted columns. Due to the tremendous size of the basilica, few realize that the perfectly proportioned baldachin is as tall as a 4-story building.
Actually, we had an ulterior motive for showing you that piece, and we'll tell you why in just a few moments.
After we find out what's new in the news with Rosemary Bruno.
Thank you, Belle, and good evening. Beginning with the September 1986 term, 4 Phoenixville parishes will combine elementary schools to make up what is tentatively being called the Phoenixville Area Catholic School. The schools Holy Trinity, St. Mary of the Assumption, St. Anne, and Sacred Heart are being consolidated because of declining enrollment and increasing maintenance costs. A total of 526 children currently attend the 4 parish schools. The plan for consolidation designates that Holy Trinity will close its school, St. Mary's will provide facilities for grades kindergarten through 5, and St. Anne's will conduct classes for grades kindergarten through 8th. Sacred Heart closed its school 5 years ago. Another merger of Germantown schools, St. Vincent de Paul, St. Madeleine Sophie, and St. Francis of Assisi has been announced. Approximately 200 students attend each school, and the St. Francis of Assisi facility is expected to be able to accommodate the consolidated student body. Also at the end of this school year, St. Anthony of Padua School in the Grays Ferry section of Philadelphia will close its doors. The decision as to where the children will attend school in the upcoming year has not yet been determined. Members of the Roman Catholic Alumni Association presented Cardinal Kroll with a check for $100,000 to help pay for the school's operating deficit. In efforts to keep their alma mater open, an additional contribution for $60,000 is expected to be made in the next few months. At a press conference last month, it was announced by archdiocesan officials that Roman Catholic would remain open at least another year, provided it can register at least 250 new students for next year's incoming freshman class by May 1st. The New Jersey Assembly Judiciary Committee has released the Medical Power of Attorney Decision Act regarding living wills, despite an earlier request by the state's Catholic Conference that it delay further action on the legislation. Living wills are instructions given by individuals prior to a serious illness concerning the question of life support systems. The act deals with the withholding or withdrawing of life-sustaining treatment for incompetent patients. The New Jersey Catholic Conference didn't want the legislation to be released from the committee until recommendations by the State Commission on Legal and Ethical Problems had been stated. We Are the World, a best-selling recording that brought world hunger into focus, has been selected as a recipient of the 1986 Christopher Award. Father John Cantor, the director of the awards, called We Are the World an unprecedented effort by the entertainment industry to combat world hunger. First given in 1949, the award recognizes those who in the previous year achieved artistic excellence in books, films, and television specials. In other media, Christopher Awards were presented to the authors of 2 biographies of Pope John XXIII. 2,000 dedicated St. Thomas More alumni will gather next Sunday at the Cathedral of Saints Peter and Paul for their annual Mass and breakfast. Auxiliary Bishop Louis A.D. Simone, a former faculty member, will be the principal celebrant. St. Thomas More, established in 1936 as a spin-off of West Catholic High School for Boys, was closed in 1975. Although there is no longer a St. Thomas More High School, the name will be remembered by the students aided by a scholarship fund organized by its loyal alumni. That's the news. For In the Know, I'm Rosemary Bruno.
Thank you, Rosemary.
Okay, now tell me why we showed the piece on the Basilica.
Because it's the beginning of March.
Yeah.
And that means in just 2 months, Reel to Reel will be going to Europe. And that means that if you haven't written or called us about it, you're running out of time. Here are some details. From May 2nd to May 18th, I'll be hosting a tour for you, our viewers, to countries like Germany, Switzerland, Austria, and Italy.
You'll be visiting many classic European cities like Munich, Innsbruck, Lucerne, Salzburg, Venice, Milan, Rome, and many more. This is a once-in-a-lifetime trip, and it's especially for our viewers.
Now, if you're interested, we have travel brochures with all the pertinent information that's yours for the asking. Just write or call us here at Reel to Reel, 222 North 17th Street, room 907, Philadelphia, PA 19103. That's Reel to Reel, 222 North 17th Street, room 907, Philadelphia, PA 19103.
Or call during business hours, 215-668-9842. That's 215-668-9842.
And join us again next week as we continue our series on Black Catholics with a look at the priests and seminarians in our area.
Dr. Richard Fitzgibbons will join us.
And Mike Gallagher will be along with another Arts Review.
All that and more, so join us.
Thanks for being with us. Good night.
Good night.
And remember, Jesus is Lord.
Travel arrangements for Reel to Reel by Atkinson and Mullen Travel of Media, PA. Phone area 215-565-7070.
It was terrible. I was single and pregnant. I couldn't even say for sure who the father was. Everyone seemed worried about reputations and quick solutions, but nobody seemed to care about me or my child. Then I heard about the people at MAS. They didn't yell. They didn't judge me. They listened, and they're helping me through the most difficult time of my life. I had heard about other maternity services, but the people at MAS are different. They're professionals, they're free, they have offices right nearby, and they help. Listen, if you're single and pregnant, don't get depressed. Get help. Call MAS. They really care about you and your baby.
MAS, serving Burlington, Ocean, Monmouth, and Mercer counties. We're there, and we care. Phone 609-394-5181.